The future Imperfect plot leaps roughly 90 years forward into an alternate future, Earth 9200, shaped by nuclear catastrophe and dominated by a rebuilt metropolis named Dystopia. A resilient resistance cell in Dystopia rescues the Hulk, Bruce Banner, a gamma-irradiated human mutate, from the past via a salvaged time platform derived from forgotten technology. That group includes an elderly Rick Jones, a former teenage sidekick to Banner who lives in a hidden bunker, and Janice Jones, his granddaughter and active organizer within the underground. They unveil the gamma bomb explosion that forged Banner in holographic recaps drawn from Rick's memories and show the Hulk a vast trophy chamber containing relics of fallen heroes. Banner immediately confronts the presence of the Maestro, a hulking dictator who reveals himself as the aged Hulk variant who rules Dystopia with brutal might. In the first clash, he shatters the neck of Banner, demonstrating strength amplified by centuries of trapped gamma radiation and the corrupting weight of power. The crippled Hulk is tended by a designated caretaker sent by the Maestro, a woman presented as a lover but intended as another method of control while healing progresses. Despite physical setback, Banner feigns compliance to mask a covert plan with Janice and her resistance allies. A public confrontation erupts when the Maestro attempts to sacrifice a civilian woman to intimidate the populace, and Banner intervenes to save her. A violent riot follows as resistance fighters infiltrate the Citadel. Maestro kills his own minister to protect his regime and pursues Hulk into the bunker. There, Rick confronts his future self verbally and is fatally impaled by the adamantium skeleton of Wolverine in his trophy room as a final act of defiance. In response, Banner hurls Captain America's shield with enough force to pierce Maestro's skin and blinds him with the ashes of Betty Banner, forcing Maestro into a weakened state. Banner then activates the time platform, sending Maestro into the past, directly into the initial moment of gamma bomb testing that created the Hulk, resulting in Maestro's annihilation at the instant Banner's own past self is irradiated. Afterward, Banner helps Janice prepare Rick's cremation ceremony. They bind his ashes to Captain America's shield and hurl them into the wasteland beyond Dystopia. Banner then returns through the reactivated time platform to his own era, leaving the future timeline altered, but the memory of resistance preserved. The return of the monster storyline begins as Hulk is blamed for killing a boy named Ricky Myers during a rampage in Chicago, prompting Bruce Banner to go on the run from public outrage and shadowy forces. Banner surfaces in a seedy hotel room in St. Louis and adopts the alias Mr. Green while messaging an online helper known as Mr. Blue to share safe locations and warnings. After reading news coverage of the alleged killing, Banner shaves his beard and hair to change his look and practices daily meditation to delay transformation. When he witnesses Jerome, a frightened child in a gang patrol, being pressured to carry a gun, Banner intervenes and subconsciously becomes Hulk, tearing the thugs apart with minimal violence before regaining control and disappearing via highway pickup. Meanwhile, federal agents intensify their search. Homebase, a secret government cell, distributes surveillance orders, and nightly broadcasts show manipulated footage of the child's supposed death to sway public fear. Banner unexpectedly encounters Doc Samson, a psychiatrist with gamma-powered strength who once helped regulate Hulk's rage, and meets Sandra Verdugo, a television reporter whose own son, Ricky Myers, reportedly died in childhood. Samson's public pressure nearly triggers Banner's panic, but he slips away under cover of darkness and confusion. All parties are brought together to a diner called the Last Chance Cafe in a tiny Ozarks town. Inside that diner, Banner, Samson, and Sandra face off as Agent Pratt, a duty agent of Homebase armed with a massive tranq dart gun, demands surrender of Banner. Partially restrained by Samson's gentle intervention, Banner chooses to retreat upstairs at closing time rather than submit. That denial triggers Banner's transformation during a tense call with Sandra. In the closed diner, Hulk bursts from the stairs toward Pratt's dart gun, smashing it before Samson physically attempts to block the monster. Sandra, meanwhile, retrieves Banner's personal files and downloads timestamps that begin to unravel public belief in the narrative. The final issue delivers the reveal. Sandra turns a live camera on the hidden broadcast tapes to prove that her son, Ricky Myers, identified as the victim, died of illness and never encountered Hulk. That footage triggers a televised retraction prepared among Homebase brass. Blue arrives at Banner's safe house as a real person, a woman using the alias to lead Banner to truth, and Samson turns over folders detailing Homebase protocols and video tampering. With the conspiracy exposed, Banner leaves again, conscience in conflict about who to trust. This entire arc defines how Bruce Banner is framed with digital manipulation, chased by a covert government group, and reluctantly aided by Doc Samson and Sandra Verdugo in proving his innocence. Set far in the future after global nuclear war ends humanity, the end narrative focuses on Bruce Banner, a tired wanderer who survived radiation and remains alive over 2 centuries later. Banner, now aged beyond 200 years, lives alone on a barren and irradiated Earth and knows no other human. At night, or when upset, the other personality called Hulk emerges as a hulking green brute driven by anger and obsession with proving strength. A mechanical vidbot, a hovering recording device, follows Banner as he walks across both Americas and chronicles each step of existence. Giant irradiated cockroaches attack that creature in swarms, tear flesh, and leave severe injuries. Banner heals and reviews the wounded scenes via the vidbot. During travel, Banner discovers the Costumed Adventurers Memorial Park, a site where fallen heroes were laid to rest alongside mementos of valor. He later returns to his birthplace in New Mexico and barricades himself under a massive boulder inside a cave. That boulder is dislodged when a recorder, an alien robot sent at the request of allied races that include the Kree and Skrulls to document humanity's final moments, removes the barrier and leaves the vidbot behind. Banner repeatedly attempts suicide, but Hulk intervenes each time because that persona refuses to surrender strength even at the end of time. Banner dreams of a woman in paradise who promises godlike unity, then wakes with chest aflame and a dread that his body is failing. Banner compares Hulk's fate to that of Prometheus submerged in eternal torment, concluding that Hulk is condemned to unending life with no hope of death. In his final conscious moments, Banner hallucinates departed loved ones and begs Hulk for release, but the other refuses and ends that part of Banner in the night. When dawn comes, Hulk sits alone outside the cave and acknowledges that only his own strength remains. He admits internally that Banner is gone and that he alone feels the bitter cold. The Grey Arc revisits the earliest days of Bruce Banner and the emergence of the Hulk, focusing on Banner's introduction to the Hulk, his initial emotions, and his first romantic connection with Betty Ross, daughter of General Thunderbolt Ross. Banner seeks out psychiatrist Leonard Samson to process memories of the gamma bomb test. As Banner describes pushing his friend Rick Jones into the safety trench just before the explosion, the bomb detonates and irradiates Banner. That triggers his first transformation into the gray-skinned Hulk. Hulk breaks loose and flees across the desert, evading U.S. Army pursuit. As he runs, partial visions of Betty Ross lodge in his mind, entwining fear, guilt, and unexpected tenderness, all part of an origin retold from Banner's later perspective. Banner alternates between hiding in desert hideouts and confiding to Samson, revealing his internal conflict between humanity and monstrous power. Memories of early encounters with General Ross amplify Banner's sense of being hunted. Scenes show brief glimpses of shared moments with Betty Ross before her father officially brands Banner an enemy of the state, a rift that haunts Banner's mind throughout the arc. Banner's confession of love to Betty Ross stands juxtaposed with the trauma of being torn from her by the Army's assault on Los Diablos missile base. A flashback sequence shows General Ross overseeing weapons protocols while his daughter quietly pleads for Banner's well-being, underscoring Banner's emotional stakes. Banner confronts the Hulk in his own psyche. The final issue wraps the emotional journey. Banner asks Samson why Betty stayed with him despite everything. As his control wanes, he transforms into Hulk again and leaps away into the desert dawn. The last scene shows Hulk cradling a crumpled photo of Betty, a moment that suggests Banner's spirit has faded and Hulk remains alone. This arc generates a portrait of Banner's emotional awakening and the Hulk's birth through memory and loss. It recasts Hulk not as a mindless brute, but as a being born from sorrow and devotion. The Planet Hulk storyline begins when Hulk loses control during a gamma bomb incident in Las Vegas. The Illuminati, a secret cabal of Earth's heroes, deem Hulk too dangerous and trick him into space aboard a shuttle, while psychiatrist Doc Samson helps manipulate him. Namor Mackenzie refuses and diverges. The shuttle veers through a wormhole, sending Hulk off course. Hulk crash lands on the harsh planet Sakaar. He is enslaved and fitted with an obedience disc. Forced into gladiatorial combat under the rule of the Red King, Angmo Asan, he becomes a public sensation. Hulk forms an unbreakable pact with fellow gladiators. They share stories and trauma. In the arena, the Red King deploys the Silver Surfer, Norrin Radd, to fight Hulk. Hulk breaks the Surfer's obedience disc, and with unwilling aid, Surfer frees all gladiators' discs. The Warbound refuse to execute Elo on command, pledging each other's lives instead. The group flees into Sakaar's hinterlands, gathering followers who believe Hulk is the legendary Sakaarson, despite his own denial. Kyera, the Old Strong, Sakaar's elite lieutenant and bearer of the planet's old power, is dispatched by the Red King to assassinate Hulk. During their duel, a fleet of bioengineered aliens named Spikes arrives. Kyera realizes the Red King unleashed the Spikes to judge his subjects. She abandons her duty and joins the rebellion. Hulk leads an assault on Crown City. He overcomes the Red King in personal combat, ascends as monarch, and marries Kyera. Peace follows his coronation, and she reveals she is pregnant with his child. Meanwhile, the shuttle's wreckage is converted into a memorial. Its self-destruct sequence activates, obliterating Crown City and killing Kyera. Hulk's grief and fury become a catalyst. Accompanied by the surviving Being warbound, Hulk departs Sakaar aboard the repaired shuttle to return to Earth in search of justice and vengeance. His decision sets the stage for the World War Hulk crossover. The story of World War Hulk recounts the return trip of Hulk from exile and his retaliation on Earth. Bruce Banner begins the arc after being exiled from Earth by the Illuminati group, whose spacecraft explosion killed his pregnant wife and sparked his vengeance. Bruce spent time absorbing intense radiation on the planet Sakaar, forming a soldier coalition called the Warbound, and then headed toward Earth with power fueled by rage and radiation. Bruce lands over Manhattan and makes a stop on the lunar surface where he defeats Black Bolt, demonstrating the strength he gained since Sakaar, and then broadcasts a demand for the Illuminati to meet him in Madison Square Garden within 24 hours or face total planetary destruction. A series of battles in Manhattan where Bruce and his Warbound take on Gamma Corps and Ghost Rider occurs. He demolishes Iron Man and destroys Stark Tower, and then captures members of multiple heroic teams, implanting obedience discs on these figures to suppress their powers and convert Madison Square Garden into a gladiatorial arena for a staged trial by combat. After the defeats, Bruce forces members of the Illuminati onto the arena floor and orders 6 of them to fight a tentacled alien before commanding the remaining 4 to battle one another as a spectacle, only to reveal he intends justice, not murder, by sparing them at the last moment. The next issue focuses on Bruce's ongoing campaign through New York as he and Warbound finish defeating Hercules, Amadeus Cho, Namora, Angel, Doc Samson, and then take on Doom-tier threats like Doctor Strange, who is possessed by the entity Zom. Bruce overpowers the Mystic and forces Stephen Strange to flee, showing the vulnerability of magic and raw gamma power. The following issue includes the arrival of Sentry, Robert Reynolds, an ultra-powerful hero whose aura of calm provides a counterbalance to Bruce. The final issue climaxes with a massive showdown between Bruce and Sentry that levels parts of Manhattan. Their energy collision reverts both to human forms, at which point Meek tries to kill Banner in rage over Hulk disappearing, and then admits that Red King loyalists, not the Illuminati, caused the explosion that destroyed Sakaar, provoking a wave of gamma energy from Bruce that threatens Earth unless satellite defenses fire to knock him unconscious. Bruce ends unconscious in his human form, and emergency satellite weapons cluster from Stark and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s negative zone plan are used to suppress him, leading S.H.I.E.L.D. to imprison Banner 3 miles underground and place Warbound members into military custody. Namor is then spared because Bruce discovered he had opposed Hulk's exile from the start. In the Indestructible Hulk storyline, Bruce Banner is introduced as a nuclear scientist and inventor who accepts that he cannot cure the Hulk persona. Banner approaches S.H.I.E.L.D. to propose a partnership in which Banner gains equipment and staff for scientific research in exchange for deploying the Hulk as a tactical asset. S.H.I.E.L.D. Director Maria Hill, the agency's overseer, initially hesitates but signs the agreement. The arc's first mission pits the Hulk against the Mad Thinker, a human strategist who uses telepathically controlled robots. The Hulk destroys the Thinker's lab and foils the scheme, affirming Banner's value as a weapon to S.H.I.E.L.D. Iron Man attends the S.H.I.E.L.D. lab to assess the unprecedented arrangement. Banner showcases his new laboratory and argues that Hulk must be managed, not suppressed. When Iron Man challenges Banner's proposal, the two exchange observations, then Hulk confronts Iron Man briefly before Hill calls Hulk off. Iron Man leaves with Banner invited to accompany him on a mission, illustrating mutual respect and collaboration. Banner begins assembling a team of young scientists, each vetted by Maria. While interviews proceed at S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, the Hulk is dispatched by stealth operatives to Ames' Devil's Mouth base hidden inside an active volcano. That operation involves Quintronic Man, a giant robot powered by stored brainwaves of dead scientists. Hulk overpowers the robot, its pilot falls into molten lava and dies. His lab is destroyed while S.H.I.E.L.D. secures AIM assets. Upon return, Banner assumes human form, resumes lab work, and notes he will watch his team closely. S.H.I.E.L.D. and Banner go on a mission aboard the Chinese submarine Dreadnought to recover an ancient scroll from the lost civilization of Lemuria. Hulk is deployed mid-mission using a biosuit underwater. Atuma, a warlord ruling part of the Lemurian domain, unleashes a sea monster to drag Hulk to the ocean floor. Hulk remains conscious amid crushing pressure before he bursts free from the creature and shatters submarine systems. S.H.I.E.L.D. withdraws, Banner regains control and continues his human lab duties. Hulk is attacked again by Atuma's forces and the Leviathan, Kofin. Hulk survives being swallowed, emerges strong, then throws Atuma into the Kofin's mouth, killing him. Banner reverts, retrieves the scroll formula describing Atuma's gift, an alchemical compound, and provides it to S.H.I.E.L.D. before returning to base for scientific research. Each stage of this narrative builds toward Banner's new equilibrium between science and strength. In the Immortal Hulk storyline, Bruce Banner is shot in the head at an Arizona Roxxon gas station. The robber, Tommy Hill, flees and encounters Joe, the iron-fisted leader of a local outlaw biker group called the Dogs of Hell. Hill sobs over his payout, but is dismissed as expendable. That night in the county morgue, Banner's corpse reanimates and the Hulk emerges. The Hulk tracks Hill and his associates, inflicts savage wounds without killing, and leaves Hill comatose in a hospital. Banner drifts into a remote town called Tarango after sensing an unreal itch in the back of his brain. He learns that Del Fry, a celebrated youth and son of Dr. Fry, expired under mysterious circumstances. Once buried in the local cemetery, Del's grave began radiating gamma energy that killed mourners by contact. Banner is pulled to a glowing cave above Green Peak, where Dr. Fry himself, irradiated into skeleton form, attacks him. With dusk's arrival, the Hulk appears and traps the Doctor beneath a mountain slide, halting the death cycle. This issue confirms the concept that Banner may die, but a different entity always rises after sundown. Investigative reporter Jackie McGee of the Arizona Herald interviews 4 separate witnesses, each describing the teen and the Hulk differently, but all say they encountered both Banner and the Green Giant without knowing how they relate. Walter Lankowski, also known as Sasquatch, is contacted by the reporter. Jackie meets Walter and finds him acting strangely. He scares patrons in a bar and sells them a theory that Banner and Walter share a link to the same green energy. A fight erupts, and Walter is pierced by a knife. Dragged to a hospital, he falls into coma and transforms into Sasquatch at sunset, killing staff with supernatural savagery. The Hulk appears mid-transformation to absorb Walter's gamma content, merging leftover spirit residue, later revealed to be the specter of Brian Banner, inside his psychic plane. This conflict marks the first concrete mention of one named the One Below All, identified as the source of all untamed green energy. Hulk confronts the possessed Sasquatch. Hulk absorbs the gamma into himself, stripping Walter of power and returning him to normal form, as Walter regains consciousness. In the closing panel, Hulk walks past a mirrored car window in a motel lot and sees not his own reflection, but Brian Banner's mocking face, indicating the presence of a haunting force still inside him.